What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Neighborhood Podcast. I am one of the co-hosts, Kevin Valentin.
And I'm the other co-host of the Neighborhood Podcast. I go by the name of Kyle Dabra.
Kyle, man, we got some interesting news to talk about today. We're recording a little late. We had a lot of other things that we had to get going today, respectively by ourselves. But I mean, we have been talking about this for pretty much the majority of the day with the first topic at hand. But just to go over a quick agenda, today Kyle and I are going to talk about the Deshaun Watson news going around the league with the allegations that are circling his life right now. We were going to talk about, oh my God, all the Chicago Bears, some of their, how do I put this lightly without hurting
Troubles.
people's feelings? Yeah,
Troubles.
going over some of their troubles this offseason. And then we were going to get a little into the James Harden being the dark horse for the MVP as he continues to campaign and carry Brooklyn without Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. So I mean, Kyle, first and foremost, this news, this whole situation with Deshaun Watson, I gotta say, I didn't see this coming, and I don't understand what the hell's going on here. What is he up to? 3 officially filed sexual assault allegations, but non-official, he's up to 9.
Yeah, so based off of the lawyer that is representing the women in these lawsuits so far, he went on Instagram on Thursday and said there are a total of 9 cases against Deshaun. But as of right now, there are 3 official civil lawsuits filed against Deshaun at this point. So just to kind of give an idea of what's going on with these accusations that are against Deshaun Watson right now. So these allegations are that he sexually assaulted 3 female masseuses in a massage parlor. So I'll get a little bit descriptive here. So listen, the terminology is what it is. This is just based off of what I read with the reports. So the first 2 lawsuits against Watson right now, they accuse him of, and I'm quoting here, pressing to sexualize his therapy and attempting to get the masseuses to touch his genitals. The third lawsuit, and this is the most recent lawsuit, and it's the most graphic one as of the 3 that are out right now. It accuses Deshaun Watson of forcing a therapist to perform oral sex on him during a session at an office building. So I mentioned the lawyer that is representing the women in these lawsuits right now. His name is Tony Busby. So Tony Busby has been in some high profile lawsuits over probably the last 10 to 15 years. The biggest one that he's known for is his role in the lawsuit against BP and the Deepwater Horizon oil spill that took place in the Gulf of Mexico over 10 years ago. So he's the one that's leading the suits here. And right now, they've put out the statements that they have. Deshaun put out a statement on Tuesday. He has refuted all of these sexual allegations so far. He mentioned in the statement that he's never treated any woman with anything other than the utmost respect that's straight from his, I believe, his Twitter account. And he has hired a attorney by the name of Rusty Harden. And Rusty Harden, for anybody that doesn't know, he has worked with a couple NFL players in the past with litigation, specifically Adrian Peterson and Michael Bennett. So now that I've gotten most of the information part out of the way, I'm going to split this into 2 parts. So I want to talk about Deshaun Watson, the person first, and then the player. So look, first things first, I'm not going to jump to conclusions and say that Deshaun is guilty right off the bat. That's unfair to Deshaun, despite the accusations that are being levied against him. Now, with that said, though, these are significant allegations against Deshaun Watson right now. And I'm really paying attention to that 3rd lawsuit in particular. It's pretty graphic. That suit claims, and I'm going to quote this here. I have it on my laptop right here. So it says that the plaintiff claimed that Deshaun wanted her to move her mouth towards his penis, forcing the plaintiff to perform oral sex with him. And the plaintiff stated that she did not consent to any of this and that she blacked out for a few minutes from the fear of what had just happened. And then it goes on to claim that the woman was so shaken up by what had occurred that she defecated on herself. Listen, I know it's graphic, but that's what's stated here in the lawsuit. And look, Deshaun's public image is going to take a massive hit from this whether he's found guilty or not guilty of this. So there's still a lot more information that's going to come out over the next couple of days. I imagine we're going to hear more details. We're probably going to hear a lot more from Deshaun's lawyer, the one that's going to try to navigate this situation as best as they can for Deshaun. And I haven't seen any criminal cases going against Deshaun at this point. The police haven't said that they're going to file any criminal charges against him, but we'll find out more over the next couple of days. But now I want to focus on Deshaun, the player. Deshaun is there's a very good chance he may not play in 2021 based off of these sexual allegations. Simply because when you look at what the NFL has done in the past when it comes to domestic violence, sexual assault cases, they have been fairly strict, and they have come down pretty hard recently with Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown, he had the situation where I believe he had 2 women form accusations against him, and he suffered an 8-game suspension last year after he signed with the Bucks. So he missed the first 8 games of the season, missed the first half, and then was able to play in the second half. And then you've had situations in the past where Ray Rice had issues where he knocked a woman out in an elevator. I believe it was his girlfriend, Kareem Hunt. You had Adrian Peterson had his situation with his children where he really aggressively disciplined his children with, I believe, no, it was. I think it was like a belt or something. I'm probably screwing up what he actually used.
It was a tree branch. It's like what he said. It's what they used to use in Texas.
It was a switch. Discipline. I think he used a switch. He used a switch. That's what it was. So, I mean, back then, the NFL was really crucified for not going hard enough on those guys, but they have definitely upped the ante with Antonio Brown last year with him being out half the season. And with Deshaun, look, the NFL is going to look into the situation, and they're going to look at this pretty intently. And there's a very good chance he's probably not going to play in 2021, just depending on how this litigation goes against him. So really the best thing that they can hope for is they settle this in court, which more than likely that's what's going to happen, is that Deshaun's not going to go to prison. I'd be really shocked if Deshaun goes to prison over this. They're probably just going to settle this in court. They probably agree on a money figure here, and then everybody goes their own separate ways. But Deshaun's value as a football player right now is probably in the garbage right now because probably nobody wants to touch him. And look, Houston is going to move forward with the prospects of him probably not playing at least the first half of the season, just because they signed Tyrod Taylor. It's probably their contingency plan for this season. And just we'll see what happens with Deshaun. Deshaun may play in 2021. I don't know if it's going to be with Houston or with a new team. There's reports saying that Houston is now really open to trading Deshaun Watson. So
who reported that? Was it Rap?
I believe it was an insider with Houston. Like the Houston, I forget the guy's name, but there was a Houston Texan insider that was stating that Houston is really open to trading Deshaun Watson now. And it's probably due to the fact of, I don't want to speculate here, but his value as a football player is really diminished at this point. So trading him is going to be probably a lot
more
easier
difficult than it would have been.
But his value is basically in the toilet right now. Before this whole situation came out, I mean, it would have been a very difficult situation for. Houston didn't want to trade him. Houston outright stated that they weren't going to trade him from a front office perspective. Now that this situation has come out, now they've pretty much opened the door to the possibility of trading him. So we're going to find out more over the next couple of days. And look, listen, guys, we're not lawyers here. We don't speak legalese. Like I could dive into these legal briefs, but I don't have the time for it just because they're basically just accounts of what happened. And I'm not going to go through hundreds of pages of legal briefs. It's just, I don't have the time for it. But right now, Deshaun's in some shit right now. And
to say it, to put it lightly. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's going to be a very bumpy road for Deshaun as this litigation goes forward.
I mean, kind of like you said, divvying it up into parts. Deshaun as an individual right now is probably going through one of the toughest times he's ever had to go through, because we're not talking about 1 or 2 allegations, we're talking about 3 officially filed. I've loved Deshaun Watson since he was at Clemson. So like for me as a fan of his in terms of his playing style and, you know, all the good things that I've heard about him off the field, all the campaigns and off the field charities that he manages now in the NFL. Like I grew to love Deshaun even more. Granted, I'm a Colts fan, so it's really hard to like anybody in my own division. But it's like you got to pay respect to the players that that you play against. And I mean, like the Colts play against him twice a year, every year, and it's been difficult. Houston is no scrub. Their record doesn't reflect it. But like I said, going back to Deshaun as a person, knowing what he had to overcome to get to Clemson and do what he needed to do to get to the league, the fact that he fell to 13 or was it 13 or whatever, 13, 14?
I think it was out of the top 10.
Yeah, like the fact that he fell out and Mitchell Trubisky was drafted above him and countless others, excluding Patrick Mahomes because he ended up being the only one that actually succeeded out of this draft class the way that he has. I just can't understand what is going on here. Like me as an individual, me as a person, I look at this from a very different perspective. I just think it's really interesting how all of these cases are coming out of nowhere as Deshaun is like being very pivotal and saying, I'm even willing to sit games out. Like I don't want to play. If I don't get traded, I'm not going to play for you. I don't want to play for you. Like I don't care what the GM says. I don't care what the new head coach says. I don't care what the coaching staff says. I'm not going to play for Houston ever again. Again, I'm not discrediting these women. If Deshaun in fact did this, Deshaun deserves to, pay out whatever money is agreed upon in court or go to jail in terms of time because of what he did. If that was my sister or my cousin, I'd be just as upset, pro athlete or not. These women have lives and they deserve to be respected. So like, please guys, don't think that I'm defending him. I'm just saying in general, it's just really convenient that all of these random cases are just kind of like coming out of the woodwork as the draft is approaching and as Deshaun is putting his foot down further in the ground saying like, hey, I don't even care if I get fined, I'm not playing. And I don't know, man, it's just like I said, I'm just one of those people that tries to think outside the box. And I mean, it looks a little suspicious that these kind of came so fast, so quick. And I know I always talk to a lot of people when things like this kind of arise with athletes or famous people. All it takes is one person to be courageous to come out and say that an athlete or somebody hurt them, and other people that were hurt by them will end up feeling more comfortable, and they'll come out and say it. Like, you know what, she's doing it, I could do it too. So, Deshaun as a person needs to really sit back, reevaluate, and think about what the hell is going on here. Because yes, you are a top 5, top 10 quarterback, depending on who you ask in this league, and you're young. But this is not how you hold yourself in this league. This is not how you hold yourself as an individual, a man. You can't just be going around because, hey, I'm Deshaun Watson, you got to do what I say, or because I'm a millionaire, you can do this to me. So I am questioning his credibility right now. I'm kind of questioning and thinking about what do we really know about Deshaun? Deshaun as a player now to transition into the other side. Like you said, his trade value has immediately diminished. We're talking, obviously, teams are willing to give up multiple first-round picks, pretty much their whole future, to have this young, talented quarterback on their team. And if I'm an up-and-coming team or a team that was reaching out, I'm probably reaching out again, just because this is the early stages of this process, and these could end up being taken care of in civil court, like you said, and it could just end up being a cash payout, and Deshaun Watson could end up just missing a few games, but you'll still have Deshaun Watson, the football player, on your roster. So if I'm teams looking from the outside, I'm skeptical, but I'm not giving as much as I would have 2 weeks ago. Like I said, Deshaun's value went from like 3 or 4 first round picks to maybe like a first and a couple of seconds, or like a first, couple seconds and a third. So if you get Deshaun for a steal, he serves his suspension, does what he needs to do in terms of the NFL disciplinary actions, and then you have Deshaun Watson for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? Like that's just my mindset. Like a Chicago, like a Carolina, all of these teams that wanted to be in the sweepstakes, that were willing to give up the world, now don't have to. So I don't know what's going to happen. We all know Ray Rice was indefinitely suspended from the league. We know that Kareem Hunt had to serve his suspension for what, a year, 8 games? I forget what it was. Well, I don't know. I don't think it was a full. I think
I forget the suspension. Like I think it was a year. I think it was a year.
so. We're talking about multiple sentences, multiple punishments, depending on the player and the severity of the allegations behind it. And Deshaun, like Kyle said, probably will miss some time, maybe even some significant time, depending on how much further this goes. But yeah, from the league perspective, it sucks because he was willing to stand out now and hold out and say, I don't want to play, and he's already going to miss out on some money. But now, if he is, put in this on that list, on that exemption list, I'm pretty sure he's held without pay too, isn't he?
I believe so.
So Deshaun's going to lose money with or without playing for the Houston Texans this season. And if this kind of like goes away, or if this resolves itself relatively quickly, I think Deshaun needs to shut the hell up and go play for the Texans, because who the hell knows what else is going to happen, and you're going to need your bread. You cannot afford to lose anymore. So this may change his perspective and just say, yo, either I stop doing what I'm doing, or what they say I'm doing, and just play football, or I got to get the hell out of Houston and I really got to hold my ground. It's like one or the other. There is no medium. He's either going to stay because he knows he needs to, or he's going to demand a trade even harder because he wants to get away from the drama that happened in Texas. So, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I feel for the guy. I like them as a player. I like them as a person. But these allegations are no joke, no laughing matter. So these are serious, and I'll be paying attention vividly to see what happens to Deshaun Watson going forward.
I think Deshaun is out of Houston. I don't think there's any way he goes back. It's just at this point, I think with Houston signing Tyrod Taylor, I think that's their contingency plan, because I think Houston's expecting at least a chunk of the season where Deshaun's going to be out due to suspension. He's going to be suspended under the NFL's conduct policy, even whether or not he actually gets, I don't even know if he's going to get criminally charged in this. I don't know if it's just going to be all civil, but he's going to definitely be out probably a minimum of 4 to 6 games. And then depending on how bad it actually gets in the courtroom with these allegations, it could even be worse. So, like I said, I have to wait for more facts to come out first. I'm not going to just jump to the conclusion that he's guilty, but I think what's going to happen regardless of what goes on in court is that he's going to serve some sort of suspension. I think that's just bound to happen at this point, just because I think just the association of the charges that are on Watson right now, I think it's a suspendable offense based on what the NFL has done in recent memory.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. Something's coming down, whether it's 4, 6, like he's definitely going to miss some time, and he's going to miss some time with some missed opportunities. Who knows? He might even lose sponsorships. Like a lot of companies don't tolerate this kind of action with players or any of their endorsees. So it just, there's a lot of things coming in the future, and Deshaun's got to tread carefully, because this is some really thin ice to be on right now, and he cannot afford to drown, especially this young into his career. Not that, doing this is justified at any age. I'm just saying you're going to tarnish what you have left, which a lot of people said was 10 plus years in this league, and you might throw it all away because you did something stupid, or did something stupid multiple times. So since we're talking about stupid things and, stupid decisions, we're gonna kind of move into this lighter topic. So the Chicago Bears, a very historic franchise in the NFL, one of the first initial teams to ever have been founded. And the lineage of historical players, Hall of Famers, goes on and on and on, right? Chicago is a very prestigious organization, a very tough and gritty team. When you think about the Bears, you think about, Soldier Field, it being one of the hardest stadiums in the world to play in because of the field and the weather conditions. And they have not been any of that for some time now, probably since they lost to the Colts in the Super Bowl in 2006. It's been some time since they've been relevant consistently, at least. And they were in the mix for the last month or so, or, they tried to be in the mix for the last month or so to campaign for Deshaun Watson, engage the trade value, or, the trade haul they would have to give in to get a Russell Wilson. And a report came out this week that Chicago offered 3 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and 2 veteran players for Russell Wilson, in which Seattle declined. So Chicago has been at a loss for quarterback for, I don't know. What do you think, Kyle? A little bit over a decade. They haven't really done much since.
Jay Cutler.
Yep. And we're talking about early Chicago Jay Cutler, not the Jay Cutler that looked like he didn't really care, put on a few weights, all that famous gif or that meme where they kind of like drew a cigarette in his mouth on the sideline or like at the podium during a press conference. So what I'm getting at here is the Chicago Bears have pretty much been at a lull offensively for a long time now. And the drafting of Mitchell Trubisky at number 2 overall in the 2016 NFL draft.
I believe so.
So he was drafted number 2 out of North Carolina because of one season for the North Carolina Tar Heels. And he was very well overhyped, obviously very well in regards to his prospect and potential. But it was kind of one of those situations where you're drafting a quarterback because of one really good year that could have been a fluke year. And I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it was, because Mitchell Trubisky has now signed to be the backup to Josh Allen in Buffalo, if not the third string, because Matt Barkley's there. So we don't know what's going to happen over there. But I would say Mitchell's career is pretty much done, like we talked about. It's not really a surprise. Once they didn't pick up the 5th-year option, I knew nothing good was going to come out of this. Barring, knock on wood, an injury to Josh Allen and, some crazy stellar play in camp or practice for him to take the number 2 spot, I think that Mitch's career as a starter is done in this league. But going back to the Chicago portion of the podcast episode I'm trying to get to, they have signed Andy Dalton at quarterback to a 1-year, $10 million deal. They obviously failed at Deshaun. They failed at getting Russell. And they made sure that their star wide receiver and Allen Robinson did not leave, and they franchise tagged him. Now, Allen Robinson has yet to sign the tenure, and Allen Robinson's camp has said that they will take their time in signing said deal because he could choose to hold out like Le'Veon Bell did a few years back and just say, I'm not signing it. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't think I don't think that Allen's going to do that, but I don't think he wants to play with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's 33, 34 years old. He didn't have the best season of his life in Dallas last year. Granted, Dallas's offensive line was hurt. Andy Dalton was inconsistent at best. He turned it on a little bit towards the end of the season. He showed some flashes that he can do it. But, I mean, if you couldn't do it with the weapons that Dallas had, I don't know how you're going to do it with lesser weapons in Chicago. So I got to get your opinion on this, man. What the hell are the Bears thinking, bro? This is literally their GM and Matt Nagy's last year at a winning season, and your answer is signing the red rifle. Is this desperation, or do they not care anymore?
I think that they just moved on. They just moved on from the possibility of getting either Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson when those trade rumors were circulating, and they never materialized. Look, when you look at Chicago at this point, I think Ryan Pace should probably be fired as general manager, because it has just been, he's been a model of inconsistency the last couple of years. He has let pretty much all the Bear fans in Chicago and around the country down, simply because they just have a very difficult time getting decent prospects to really prosper in their system, and they have really swung and missed on some really big names. I mean, to go back to when they drafted Mitchell Trubisky, that was the same draft class that Patrick Mahomes is in, and look at the success that Mahomes had compared to Mitchell Trubisky. Like you mentioned, Mitchell Trubisky is probably a few years away from being completely out of the league and a complete bust from that draft class. It's just, when you look across the board with the Bears, their best quarterback that they probably ever had is probably someone either by the name of Jay Cutler or Rex Grossman. Throughout the entire
McMahon, the guy that won them this, Jim McMahon, who won them Super Bowls, he's a Hall of Famer.
Okay, well, I'll go recently then. In the last, 30 years?
30 years, yeah.
20, 30 years then, just to be a little bit more specific then. That's who they've had. That's the best quarterbacks that they've been able to field since McMahon back in the 80s.
80s.
I mean, what else do you say about that? It's just, I remember when they had Jay Cutler, they did have some years of relevance. They did have that one. They had that one NFC Championship appearance against the Packers at home. I think Jay Cutler was dealing with some sort of injury. He didn't really play that well that game. And ever since, it's been a revolving door of talent at the quarterback position. They gave Mike Glennon back, I believe, in 2014, 2015, a boatload of money to be their starting quarterback. He was a complete waste of money. I believe he got that contract simply because of how well he played in Tampa the year before, and he never materialized anything significant with Chicago. It's just
Kyle Orton was over there.
Yeah, I don't think anything really happened with him either. So
No.
just looking at the way that the Bears have been the last couple of years, they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. And I don't really expect them to go anywhere with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton, as a backup with the Cowboys last year, was mediocre at best. I would say mediocre because, look, Andy Dalton was a pretty solid quarterback when he was with Cincinnati. Definitely had some good years when they got into the playoffs a couple years, especially towards kind of like the last maybe like 3 or 4 years he was with Cincinnati. But like the last year or two, specifically with the Cowboys, and maybe the last year he was with Cincinnati, he has been really going downhill. And I think Chicago made this move simply because that was probably the only guy that they could probably realistically go after at this point. I don't think that they were going to make some sort of trade to go after Tua, because I know there have been rumors about Tua maybe being traded, but the only mention of those trade rumors with Tua were in regards to Deshaun Watson in Houston.
Swapping, yeah.
So I think Chicago just looked at the situation here and said Andy Dalton's probably the best guy in the market because Ryan Fitzpatrick, he just signed with Washington a few days ago. It just, the quarterback market is really thin right now, and that was the guy that they ended up going with. And just the way that the Bears are going to look this season, I think the season is already over, and we haven't even started a game yet. And it really sucks because I think that Bears defense is pretty good. That defense with Khalil Mack leading the way, that defense has held their own and keeps them in games. But it's just the offense, their inability to materialize anything significant as far as points go or anything just consistent through the passing game. I mean, their running game is okay, but it's inconsistent at times too.
Yeah, David Montgomery had a great second half to the year, but I mean,
it's still
you're running the ball when you're down 14. What does that do for you?
Yeah, so it's just until they get this quarterback situation squared away with, and nothing's going to happen with Chicago. And it's just, I mean, when you're looking at Andy Dalton being the starting quarterback, and they've essentially said that he's got the starting job as of right now, Chicago's probably going to go 6-10 next year. Maybe 5-11, just because Andy Dalton is probably going to get that team to a mediocre record at best. I don't see a lot of decent prospects or any. I hate to be a downer here. I don't see any really positivity looking forward with Chicago next year. I think the Packers are head and shoulders above them in the division. Minnesota's probably second, and then Chicago and Detroit are going to be fighting for that third spot. And Detroit is going through a major rebuild right now. So I think Chicago's probably the third best team simply because Detroit is completely starting over.
And you heard about that rumor, right? Or that trade that happened that they got Michael Brocker or whatever.
Oh yeah, that the Rams traded Michael Brockers to Detroit. Yeah,
and he's the one that said, "Yo, we definitely leveled up when we got rid of Jared Goff, and now Jared Goff is going back again."
Ironic, right?
No, that's funny. Like,
just,
that's great.
It's just funny how the world turns the results out that way. But
yeah, you ain't lying.
But I hate to be a downer on Chicago, but Chicago's not going anywhere next year. You and I both know that.
Yeah, at least we don't think so, guys. You know, obviously we have no future insight. We are not gurus. We're not psychics. These are just all of our things.
I'll claim to be. Listen. I'll die on this hill if I need to, but I'm pretty certain that Chicago's going nowhere next year. That's not going to happen next year.
Hey, man, they still got Big Dick Nick back there, man. You never know.
And no, because they've already said that Andy Dalton's going to be the starter.
Yeah, but if Andy suck or Andy get hurt or knocked out again, who's got to step up? The guy you paid $22 million to on the bench.
If Andy Dalton sucks, you really think Nick Foles is going to go in there and change things?
I didn't say change things, but I mean, bro, you paying him $20 million to ride the bench. You better play his ass.
I I doubt it. I mean, Andy Dalton's gonna probably put up typical numbers, probably somewhere around 200, 250 yards passing a game. He'll probably throw a touchdown here and there, but he's probably gonna throw 1 or 2 picks on average a game. I mean, probably 1 pick a game, maybe 2. I don't know. It's just,
it really depends. Yeah,
but
no,
it's
I
like,
agree.
it's Andy Dalton, bro. Like,
And they're looking for suitors for Anthony Miller, and they tried to get rid of Kyle Fuller. Like high key, they might be in a rebuild mode. High key.
I mean, look, you got Allen Robinson, and Allen Robinson is probably leery at the prospect of Andy Dalton throwing the ball to him. And then don't you have Javon Wims, the guy that had that wide open touchdown where Mitchell dropped a dime to him and went right through his
Isn't
arms?
that also the guy that punched
Yes.
Chauncey Gardner? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you
So
got to.
we'll see what happens.
It's not a rosy picture in Chicago. So
No, they got a lot to worry. They got a lot to worry about, especially with Matt Nagy being on the not the hot seat. It's like they lose their first game by a lot. He's fired. Like I don't even think they waste time.
I'll say this, though. Depending on how many fans they bring into the stadium, if it goes south in that first game, they are going to light them up.
Oh yeah, it's a big city, bro. You know how the markets go in big cities like New York and LA and Chicago. Bro, they don't fucking play. They don't care. They will boo you ass right out of the stadium. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, this particular organization isn't booing much right now. The Brooklyn Nets have officially taken off, and they are on fire. They're dominating the NBA, and James Harden is kind of doing it by himself right now, as he has been on a multitude of games playing alone, or at least not with one other superstar. And the other night, James Harden had, I believe, a 40-point triple double in a win, and he just has been looking like a man on a mission. He's looking like he said, you know what, Houston got rid of me. I'm gonna turn it up even harder. And he is quickly climbing up the MVP chatter. And I would say he's in either fourth or third in the terms of, competing for that, because I feel like with every game he only gets better with Brooklyn. And I'm pretty sure he's already second or third in the franchise's triple double totals. So it's just he's absolutely balling the fuck out. He is averaging crazy numbers lately in the last couple of weeks, and I think that James Harden has really elevated his game and has stepped up when needed most, because KD has been out with a multitude of injuries and multiple COVID exposures. Kyrie obviously was out on his own doing what he had to do, what he felt for his mental health. He's having a little bit of ailments kind of nag him along with some back injuries and whatnot. So James Harden balling the fuck out, man. I got to hear your thoughts. What the hell is going on in his mind right now?
They got him out of Houston. Thank God I don't have to
He
deal
missed the
with any.
strip clubs though.
Yeah, but I mean, look what Deshaun got with all those massage parlors. So I mean, I know the jokes are. I know it's a little bit early to be saying those jokes, but it is what it is. But outside of all the jokes and all the fat jokes that we had to throw at James Harden for being freaking 10, 15 pounds overweight, looking like it's like a half, like looked like a damn sumo wrestler when he was like wearing
He
his,
looked like a fullback.
yeah, like dude, like, but with the jokes out of the way, I think James Harden has been absolutely sensational this year. I think you did mention that he's probably like fourth or third in your MVP race at this point. I have him third simply because I still have Joel at number one, and I know the freaking analytic bros are going to get after me saying, "Oh, well, if you look at Nikola Jokic is leading all the analytics." And I'm like, yeah, okay. But if I'm looking at James Harden right now, James Harden has definitely stepped up. Just the one thing that's really surprised me when it comes to the Nets, and specifically with James Harden, is the fact that he has become really the facilitator of the team. He has really been great with distributing the ball, and he's really getting these guys, whether it's Kyrie, whether if he's on the court, KD, Joe Harris, DeAndre Jordan, really involved in the offense. And the offense is flourishing because of James Harden's ability to really distribute the ball extremely effectively. And I remember you and I had talked about this, like what would his role be going into a situation where you got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in your starting five? It definitely looks like Kyrie Irving is definitely going to be just a point guard that is going to simply just drive to the basket and knock down some mid-range jumpers. Kevin Durant is going to do what he needs to do, knock down wide open 3-point shots. I still think that Kevin Durant's shot is like the silkiest shot in the league that I've ever seen. So, but James has really carved out
a clean jump shot, yeah.
But James has really carved out his role really well. And because of that, you mentioned he had the 40, 15, and 15 the other day. Like
absolutely
he's been
ridiculous,
going
dude.
off.
Those
dude.
are 2K numbers, dude. Like, come on, man.
So I mean, just looking at where he's gone, and I'm going to pull up his stats real quick, just because, just to kind of show you guys how well he has really been playing this year. So just to kind of give you guys the traditional stats that he has so far. So he's averaging 25.5 points a game. He's averaging almost over 11 assists a game, and he's averaging around 8 rebounds a game. So he's only about 2 rebounds away from averaging a triple-double. And then if you get into some of the advanced stuff, the advanced analytics, so his PER is sitting around 25 right now. His win shares is sitting around 0.2. Okay, I want to get this right. 0.219, which is, it's been improving ever since he's gotten to Brooklyn. And his shooting average is pretty solid. So when you look at all these stats and you kind of compare them to the guys that are in top of the MVP race with Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic, I think James Harden has really kind of found a good spot at the 3 spot in the MVP race. Do I think that he's going to overtake Jokic, or do I think that he could take Embiid? He could, depending on how long Embiid is out for, because Embiid is still dealing with that knee injury, that horrific looking knee injury that he suffered.
That scared the shit out of me, and I'm not even a Philly fan.
Yeah, so he only has a bone bruise, and they say he might be out a week, but he could be out for possibly 2 more weeks, just depending on how Philly kind of manages his workload coming back into the starting lineup. But if I had to say right now, just with the fact that Embiid is out, I got to give it to Jokic, man. I think Jokic is actually the favorite right now, just because analytically speaking, he has Joel beat. He's been playing more consistently than Harden. And I know Jokic doesn't get a lot of shine. And I know that I said just probably about 2 weeks ago that Embiid was leading the way, but with Embiid being out, I think Jokic takes it. And even though that he's a quiet candidate in that MVP spot, we need to give him his shine. Jokic has been playing outstanding basketball, even despite the fact that the Nuggets aren't the top team in the Western Conference. The 76ers are, with Embiid being a huge part of that. But James has been a solid player for the reason why that the Nets are really kind of fighting Philly for that number 1 spot in the Eastern Conference. And I really think there could be a scenario where it could be between Nikola Jokic and James Harden really kind of battling it out over the MVP, just depending on how long Embiid is out for.
And depending how much he comes back from all that, yeah.
So, I mean, James could take a hit if Kyrie is back in the starting lineup more consistently, and the same with Kevin Durant. But I think James right now, he's in that 3 spot. I'm still going to give Joel the slight. It's so tough, dude. Like, you could really go back and forth between Jokic and Embiid at this point, but I'll give it to Jokic just because he's been healthy the entire season. He's been balling out. His ability to distribute the ball is unparalleled for a big man. And it's just right now, I got Jokic, Embiid, and then Harden at 3. That's how I kind of see it.
No, I honestly, in that order, and your exact reasons why, like you said last episode, I feel like you read my mind. It's crazy because if Joel doesn't get hurt, I really see him winning the MVP, because the way that Philly's playing right now and the way that Ben Simmons is kind of on another level defensively. Doc Rivers, we need to talk about what it is you said a couple of days ago, because that shit was suspect. But overall, Philly's been playing so good, and that's very, very, very big in part because of Joel's stellar play. Similar to what you said, it's crazy how Jokic is putting up the numbers he's putting up, and yet Denver is like the 6th or 7th seed in the Western Conference. But that also shows the difficulty of playing in the West, because you have a player like Jokic competing for an MVP, and you're at the 7th seed. So it's like there's like levels to this shit, as Meek would say, and it's just absolutely like in full display in the Western Conference because like you have great play from Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, Paul Millsap, and then you obviously have freaking Nikola Jokic, and you'd think like those four players are pretty damn good. Why the hell are they seventh? It's because they play in the West. If this team is in the Eastern Conference, they're probably better than Philly. If I'm being completely honest, like those two big men in those respective in the Eastern Conference would obviously dominate because those are the two best centers in the league. But I couldn't agree more. James Harden's playing out of his mind. And I think if Joel continues to, be out, God forbid there's any lingering conditions, or if he re-aggravates it, or if they're trying to be safe and keep him out until closer to the playoffs, I think that just gives Nikola the runaway with it. And I think that even pushes Harden further because he goes from third or fourth all the way to second within a month. And honestly, Brooklyn is second and they could take over for first. And I disagree with you only because on one point, I don't think it makes a difference if either of those other two wingmates of his are on the court. James Harden has showed that his first priority is to get his teammates involved. And since you can't double any of them because that leaves one of them open, James has been seeing a lot of single covered, one-on-one matchups, and he's completely taken advantage. He's hit some clutch shots. And I mean, like you said, I mean, look at his averages. He's almost averaging 26, almost averaging 8, and then he's averaging 11 assists. Like that's just those numbers are wild for someone who got traded at the pretty much beginning of the season and who is also playing with two perennial all-stars and former all-pros. So you got to give it to James, man. I hate James Harden. I hate watching him play. The whole dribble isolation shit between the legs for 20 out of the 24 seconds really pisses me off. But the fact that he's transitioned into more of a team player and he's kind of accepted a lesser role, that he's not taking all the shots that he used to in Houston, but it's working out and it's paying dividends because Steve Nash is looking like some kind of coach right now, man, managing those three egos, making sure that those three are like healthy and together in terms of their mentalities. But I would say watch out for Brooklyn, man. That finals appearance is looking stronger and stronger every game they play because they are lighting it up. And that is in huge part because James Harden is carrying the load without his other two teammates.
Yeah, and it's really it's crazy with the season that James started with and just all the shenanigans he got into by forcing his way out of Houston. And then he turns around, turns a negative into a positive, which is the way that he's been able to play for Brooklyn the entire season. You do have to give him credit, though. He has really stepped up for Brooklyn, especially when Kyrie and KD are out of the lineup. He has really taken on the responsibility of leading that team to where they are. And basically, they're going to either end up either as the 1 seed or the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. And I think the way that Harden has played so far, he is definitely worthy of some MVP nods at this point. But there's one thing I want to talk about before we wrap this up. And it's just, I just want Kevin to just pop off for this for a little bit. Kevin, we got to talk a little bit about your Yankees, just because we've been mentioning about baseball the last couple days on the podcast. I just want you to get a quick feel for what you think the Yankees have been like so far this spring training.
Oh, okay. I thought we was gonna go into the other topic. Okay. No, that's fine. Listen, I'm gonna say it like I say it every year. I think we're favorites to win the World Series. Obviously we got to compete with the Dodgers on the other side, but it's Yankees or nothing for me. They're my whole life. They're everything I stand for. They're the team that I grew up watching every day. They're the team I went to the stadium just a few blocks away. They're everything. And with that comes with potential heartbreak because I always say this every year. I think we're going to win the World Series. So, I mean, it's like I say to Kyle every year, I'm ready for them to break my heart again. Like, it's okay. Like, I accept it. I forgive them. I love them. But all jokes aside, it's all about health. We need to maintain some consistency and staying off of the IL because, I mean, last year and the year before that, we were like one of the worst teams in terms of keeping our players healthy. I don't know if we need to fire our training staff or change up the regiments. I do see a lot of these players in the weight room, practicing, getting their BP up and, making sure that they're getting stronger and they're making sure that they're trying to build their bodies to be strengthened for the season. But a lot of players fail to realize, man, this is a 162 game season. This is a long, dragging, physically agonizing season. And we need guys. We need to make sure that the guys that are going to carry this team are going to be healthy for the season. Aaron Hernandez, what the fuck is wrong with me? Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Garrett Cole. We need, Gleyber Torres, Clint Frazier. Every single person that we need to be a consistent person in the locker room and on the field, they just have to step it up. We're getting Herman back after his 80-game suspension with his domestic violence. That is all finally in the past, and that is cleared. So he's back on the team. Well, Luis Severino is expected to be back from Tommy John surgery in sometime in July or August. That strengthens our starting rotation as well. Obviously, Garrett Cole's coming into year 2 of being with the New York Yankees. We signed Corey Kluber. We signed Jason Tomlinson. He was a former teammate of Garrett Cole's in Pittsburgh. So, I mean, pitching has finally been addressed to a certain extent. And, we just need to make sure that we play good baseball, we play error-free baseball, and then we make contact. It doesn't always have to be home run or bust. We have probably a top 2, top 3 hitter, depending on who you ask, coming back to the team in DJ LeMahieu. And I mean, pure hitter, opposite field, single, double, clutch, can hit the long ball, and is probably one of the best fielding infielders in baseball. We have a great MVP candidate every year potential in DJ LeMahieu coming back to the Yankees for another 6 years. And I think when you have a guy like that that's always reliable to get on base with the power behind him in the lineup that literally I just said, it's kind of scary. That includes Luke Voigt as well. We have the potential to do it, man. Our bullpen looks good. Obviously, we lost Zach Britton for a couple of months. He's got some elbow swelling. You're smirking and you're just waiting to talk about it. So just, just say it because it's pissing me off.
And what about Gary Sanchez?
What about Gary Sanchez, Kyle? What about him? Tell me about him. No, I want you to tell me about him. You got so much. This man sends me tweets about Gary fucking Sanchez almost on the daily. I've had enough. This man hits a single and Kyle's like, oh my God, he gonna win MVP. Like, bro, no, I've had enough. It's midnight. I'm not gonna start yelling in my complex. People gotta fucking sleep. No, I'm not doing this.
Listen. I just want you to admit one thing. Just one thing.
What?
Say that Gary Sanchez has been popping off in spring training. Just say it. He's been popping off.
It's spring training. We talking about practice?
Hey,
we talking about practice?
Hey, go look up Gary Sanchez's spring training averages
Kyle,
from last year.
I want you to
look
look at the pitchers. I want you to look at the pitchers he's faced. These are double and triple A pitchers. These are draft prospects that have not played in an MLB game. These are just random fucking people that they're saying, well, we got to test him out, or fuck it, we're not going to use this person today. I don't care.
You can't give him Sanchez. You can't give him any shine.
Water.
You can't give him any shine.
Dog water. No, zero shine. Gary Sanchez is dog water. Absolute. I'd rather drink sewage shit than say Gary Sanchez is good. I've had enough. And the best part is, people told me I was absolutely insane after he had one bad year after the 2017 season where he came in clutch in the postseason against Houston. Mm-hmm. And when he had a great regular season. After that, Gary Sanchez had an abomination of a career. And I mean, the literal waste of space that this man is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that he's on my team to this day frustrates me. Like, I go to bed angry sometimes when I remember, like, God damn it, he's still on my roster. Like, I see him at the plate and I automatically assume he's going 0 for 4 for the day. 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. I need you to understand something. I know you're not as baseball in tuned as I am, and I know that I'm nowhere near a lot of these other people in the world.
What do you mean? I got all the freaking Gary Sanchez highlights off of Twitter the last 3 weeks. I've been watching them all, bro.
Shit, it's spring training. I'm talking about Gary Sanchez's demeanor at the plate when it's a regular season game. It's just something. There's just that arrogance about him that just gives me that notion of I want to beat the shit out of you, bro. It's like he gets to the plate, we could be down, we could be up, we could be tied, and he's literally swinging like we were in middle school trying to impress the girl on the sideline. It's home run or bust with him. There's no in between. He swings at garbage. He fucking doesn't put the ball in play, and when it is in play, it's going sky high in the air because he's swinging for the fences, or it's grounded in the dirt, and he doesn't put any effort into run anything out at first base. Gary Sanchez, until he turns it around, he sucks. He sucks. I don't care if he's got a cannon behind the plate. I don't give a shit if he's really cool and he's got cool hair and he's breaking it in spring training. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. Gary Sanchez, absolute dog water. Kyle Hashimoto is my starting catcher day one, in my personal opinion. But if freaking Aaron Boone wants to keep giving this man chances after he batted 0 this last postseason, if not under 100, I've had enough. Bro, this man had 2 or 3 games where he was 0 for 3 in the postseason. Dog water.
How much you want to bet? How much you want to bet that he's the starting catcher day one?
I don't have to bet it. I already know what's happening. I know what's happening. I said in my mind.
I'll put a case on it.
Bro, I already know what's going to happen. Actually, Garrett Cole's personal catcher is Kyle Hashimoto, so you might lose that case.
I'll gladly lose a case. I don't care. Day one. I got Gary Sanchez.
Day one, Gary Sanchez starting.
Yep, day one. Day one.
18 or 24? Case. 18 or 24 case.
Oh, let's go big. Let's go 24.
All right, bet. That's two bets. Twitter. We have a Twitter. YouTube. We have this Gary Sanchez one, and then we have the Russell Wilson trade. I'm not giving up on Russell, so it's probably going to be an even exchange because Gary Sanchez sucks at catching Garrett Cole because he sucks at everything he does, and we obviously have Kyle Hashimoto, who played with Garrett Cole in high school, that knows how to play with him. So I don't think that Gary starts game one.
I mean, have you listened to these videos and the crack of the bat when Gary Sanchez hits it, bro? I'm just saying.
You ever heard
He's been balling this spring training.
You ever heard a fastball hit a mitt? You ever heard like just a pitcher? That's what it sounds like when he gets on the plate because he misses everything.
Not the spring training, bro.
When Gary Sanchez steps up to the plate, all you hear is bah, bah, because it's the ball hitting the fucking catcher's mitt because this man he's here and the ball's over here and he's like, whatever, I don't care. I'm Gary Sanchez. And then he walks off because he doesn't give a shit. It's his attitude that pisses me off even more. His mannerisms and everything that just, I don't want him on the team. I don't know why he's still on the team. It's so frustrating.
Just gonna have to.
But my Yankees are going to win the World Series.
It's either that or they break your heart.
Exactly. I'm here for it, and I'm never going to teeter from it. It's win the World Series or break my heart.
You gonna go to a game this year?
I'm going to try to. Yeah, if it's available, I have to go see the Yankees. I was going to go to a spring training game, but I kind of saw tickets at the very, very, very last second, and they were a little bit pricey for some shitty seats. And I wasn't about to drive 2 hours to Tampa to sit in the nosebleeds, get a sunburn, and then pay out of pocket for 2 tickets for me and Isabel.
I mean, I've been to that stadium. I've been to that George Steinbrenner Stadium. That's right next to Ray J. I mean, is it really even that bad of a seat there? I mean, it's not even that big of a stadium.
No, spring training facilities are never that big. It's just the point of I just didn't feel like paying and driving, just for spring training. Like, it was like over $150 for like nosebleeds, $300, bro. It's not including gas and food and shit for a day to watch. I don't even know if the lineup would even play that day. It could be one of those double headers, or spring training games are only 7 innings anyway, if I'm not mistaken. So like, why in the hell would I go all the way for 7 innings to have one starter have one at bat?
I mean, hell, you could fly round trip to New York right now, cheaper than going to a game. I mean, exactly. To be quite honest with you, like that's just it's kind of like the way that works.
We're waiting. We're trying to figure out what's going on with obviously the Yankees play the Rays so many times this year, and I know that Tropicana Field isn't exactly the most expensive place to be.
It sucks. So. It sucks. I hate going there. Like, dude, just the lights in the stadium are so bright. The experience there is just terrible. Like, that stadium is like what, 40, 50 years old? They got to do something with that stadium because that stadium is just, I have no idea. It's just garbage. It's the worst stadium in all of baseball.
You've been to all of them?
I could gladly say that Tropicana Field is probably the worst one. I say that with full certainty.
I'm not going to argue with you, only because 1, I've never been there, and 2, they're division rivals, so I don't really care. If it's an insult to them, take it. I don't give a shit.
I imagine pretty much every other baseball stadium across the country is miles better than what Tropicana is. Tropicana is, well, if you were going to say that freaking Gary Sanchez is dog water. That's what Tropicana Field is dog water.
There we go. Okay, it's sliding into the Gary Sanchez train. You'll get there eventually when he bats under 150 for the first 60 games of the year, and then he misses 20 games because he pulls his hamstring walking to first. It's fine.
But I'm gonna be here when he hits a freaking 500-foot bomb. I'm gonna be right here.
Okay, so what? So what? He hits one 500-foot bomb, and then the next 2 weeks he's batting under 90. Go home. Go to bed, pal. Go to bed. I'm tired of shit. Go to bed.
I focus on the positives here, man.
Dude, that's like one. That's like a
except when it comes to the Bears. Except when it comes to the Bears.
That's like a basketball player hitting one shot.
Let it be the buzzer beater, bro. Go up big.
No, man, no. Even if it is a walk-off, bro, what did you do the last 2 weeks? No, baseball's 162 games. If you give me under 150 or under 200 for that matter, on the New York Yankees as a starting catcher that plays over 100 games, and your strikeout percentage is higher than your fucking batting average, I don't want to hear it.
I'm just gonna say right now, expect the trolling of Gary Sanchez to continue all season.
But it's not trolling. There's statistical facts behind it. He has sucked the last 3 years. Bad.
Just saying. Just expect the trolling. That's all.
That's fine. That's fine. Any Gary Sanchez fan, man, y'all can come find me. Y'all can at me. Y'all know where my Twitter is. You know the podcast, everything. Y'all more than welcome to bring that smoke. I'm with it.
I could put another bet up right now.
What?
I'll put another bet up right now. If he bats over 250 by the All-Star break, you got to buy a Gary Sanchez jersey.
Bet.
250. Sanchez, get me 250.
Bro, if it's 249, bet.
Shake on it.
What am I going to shake your hand through the verbal? There's video evidence. Yes, I agree.
Okay. Fair enough. Get a Gary Sanchez jersey, bro.
That's fine. I ain't gonna get no real one. I'll get some fucking. I'll make my brother make one for me. I'll put a T-shirt and fucking put some tape on my back.
Get the Fanatics one that's like $50.
Man, lucky I ain't even give him that.
Listen, I'll even make it better for you. You can even get like one of the T-shirts that just has Sanchez's name.
Okay, that's fine. I was about to say I'm not keeping no jersey. A T-shirt I can rip, use it as a rag.
Yeah, you could rip the sleeves off, that's make it into a cutoff, do something like that.
I'll give it to a dog or a puppy or something. You know what I'm saying? Give it something. Give it a humane society. I don't know.
Yeah,
it could be a wee pad.
It could be a good chew toy, I guess.
You see, you feel me? That's what I'm saying. But other than that, guys, that's everything we got for you. This episode will be airing like normal early in the morning tomorrow, which is obviously Friday for you guys. It'll be Friday morning. Just an update. We are working on the logo still. Isabel is working tirelessly. We have some rough drafts coming out in the next couple of days, but the progress is coming along, just to let you know. Obviously Kyle and I are working to, better the quality. I got to order my mic in terms of, what Kyle is using right now. If you guys have seen it on YouTube, to make my audio clearer. And obviously, as you see, Kyle has his camera set up pretty much relatively comfortable while I have to mount my phone. The whole moving process is still going, and finances and whatnot. So, making sure that I get all my stuff quality ready for the podcast to kind of take off. And one quick shout out to Zack Snyder. The Justice League cut that I just saw on HBO Max was absolutely phenomenal. It's probably one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my life. I'm not exaggerating. I'm a super big comic book nerd. You guys got to go see it if you already haven't. I know it's 4 hours, but break it in the 6 chapters if you have to. There's 6 segments of the movie. You can break it like that and come back to it another day. It's amazing. It rivals Endgame in my personal opinion. It is that good. The story, the detail, the character development, the emotions, the humor, everything. It's a very great and well-rounded movie. Zack Snyder, kudos to you. Amazing job. That movie did not disappoint, and it left me satisfied.
You said 6 segments?
Yeah, it's 6 chapters they break it down into. It's 4 hours. Yes.
I just wanted to do that because I just saw The Dark Knight the other day, and that was the one thing that the Joker says in the holding cell. So I just wanted to
it's fire. You got to watch it. Like Tyree stayed up till 3 a.m. our time to watch a 4-hour movie and took a half day from work today.
I guess the thing is, guys, like I'm not like a super big superhero movie. Like when Endgame came out, I watched it, and it was good. Like I was like entertained by it. Like in like obviously like the last scene, like where everybody comes like okay, spoilers, where everybody comes back and they all fight Thanos. I thought that was really cool. Um it's just the fact that going through a 4-hour movie is going to be tough for me, bro. And don't put it past me that I fall asleep in it just because like
I'm doing it again. I'm watching it again on Saturday.
like all I know is that usually when I watch movies, if I'm not like really like like interested in it, or if I'm not like drawn into the movie, I'll fall asleep. Like Tyree and I, we went to go see Suicide Squad a couple of years ago, and I think we saw it with Brooke and Garrett too, and maybe Ryan was there too. I think I got through like halfway through the movie and I passed out, and then I woke up like right during like the last like 20 minutes of the movie. So
yeah, but that's not your thing.
Listen, I am a casual in every sense of the word when it comes to superhero movies, but I have been trying to expand my superhero movie. I watched my movie catalog. I did watch Captain America the other day. I've seen a couple of the Iron Man, so I'm trying to like expand my knowledge into like DC and Marvel. But I will say this: like one of my favorite movies ever is The Dark Knight. It's just because Heath Ledger's Joker is just unreal, bro. Like
Big
when
facts.
I like when
RIP to a legend.
when I see the Joker like in that movie, I don't see Heath Ledger. Like I get no semblance of Heath Ledger in that movie. That is the Joker, bro. Like it's that good.
Yeah, agreed. No doubt about it. There is not many that can compare to him. Neither the Jokers that preceded him or Jokers that came before him.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like Joaquin Phoenix was great in the Joker. It was a different movie. It wasn't really a superhero movie. It was more of like
Different world.
It was more of like a really kind of like a personal development story, like how the Joker came to be. But I thought Joaquin did a great job in that role.
Oh yeah, big facts. But other than that, that's all I got for you guys. Sorry for yawning. It's like almost 1 o'clock in the morning over here. I'm just kind of really exhausted from work. Had a long day, but yeah, man, that's all I got. Appreciate you guys for all the support as per usual, and we'll catch you guys again next week.
Yes, sir. And on my end, I got nothing else to say. Just you listen to the podcast, whether it was on Apple Podcast, Spotify, we appreciate the support. On YouTube, if you guys watched this, we definitely appreciate it. We'll probably go over free agency next week. We've seen a couple moves over the last couple days, but we'll probably do our free agency grades for the next episode next week. So we'll definitely get into that. And if any NBA news pops up, we'll talk about that next week. But until then, you guys, we'll see you guys next week and take it easy.
Later, guys.